Hello everyone, NoahNovels here, and today's video is the first in a series of Revue Starlight episode discussion and analysis videos. You wouldn't know it unless you watch my mad ravings about it on Twitter, but Revue Starlight is one of my favorite series ever. But I really only remembered my passion and love for it in early 2022, and as I've discussed before, 2022 was a year where most of the time I felt too tired and burnt out to make any videos. But I've recently gotten a new spark of inspiration, the source of which I'll mention later, but I have already said in a previous video and on my social media, and I'm using this newfound energy to make a series of videos on this masterpiece of a series. I've wanted to do something video-wise with Revue Starlight for all of the past year, so I can't wait to finally hop into it. So this is going to be a series of videos, where every one is me discussing and analyzing each individual episode of Revue Starlight upon rewatching it, what I thought of it, things I noticed, and interpretations on the series' story and thematic elements. I'm not going to be going out of my way to spoil the series as I do these videos, but if I notice something that I think relates to a later story or thematic element, I am going to bring it up, since I think there is a lot to discuss with this great series, and I want to cover it all, or as much as I noticed and am capable of. So I would say watch the Revue Starlight anime first, you won't regret it, and then come back to these videos if you're so inclined. I'll still be here, waiting. If you need convincing to check this series out but don't want to be spoiled, I do intend to make a spoiler-free review and analysis of the whole series, and the sequel movie for that matter, once I finish this video series. It's probably not going to be for a while, because I'm not the fastest at making videos, but I do want to do it. If you don't want to wait, I'm sure there's plenty of other great videos or articles going over the series. But to give my really quick opinion on the series, it's unique, amazing, and deals with a lot of powerful themes, especially if you're passionate about creative or artistic things, such as theater. It also has killer music and good animation. Also in these videos, I'm going to be more focusing on the episode's story, characters, themes, messages, etc. So I won't necessarily be talking about things like each individual episode's animation, voice acting, soundtrack minus the insert review songs since those are crucial to the plot, unless there are certain standout moments which I especially want to draw attention to. I'll save talking about those aspects for my video on the series as a whole, since I'm sure I'm already going to be making these videos longer than intended, with my non-stop rambling on the series. One last thing I want to say, before hopping into the discussion on episode 1, is I am aware that Revue Starlight acts as both a critique and love letter to the Takarazuka Revue, and I am so sorry if I butcher the pronunciation of that name. I'll also just apologize in advance for any other names I mispronounce or butcher in this video. That being said, I really don't know anything about the Takarazuka Revue, and for this series of videos I'm gonna keep my knowledge on said review the same. I believe a piece of media is at its best when it deals with a particular topic or subject, but can still be enjoyed on its own merits, without knowledge on said subject, which allows people to take away their own meanings and interpretations from it. And I think Revue Starlight does that wonderfully. While I very well know the nature of the reviews and the top star are meant to reflect the Takarazuka Revue, I think Revue Starlight is a series about the struggles and beauty of pursuing artistic and creative passions in general, and the determination needed to keep at it. It's just the creative medium all the characters of Revue Starlight are passionate about is theater because, well, the Takarazuka Revue is a musical theater troupe. Also, theater's just cool in general. Take it from a former theater performance major who didn't get his degree, but hey, I still had fun. I hope my refusal to research or look into the Takarazuka Revue doesn't come off as lazy or ignorant to everyone watching. I understand how it may seem that way, but I just truly believe in what I said about how media should be able to work on its own, and how Revue Starlight excels at that. I am actually interested in researching it, since Revue Starlight does have a lot to say about the Takarazuka Revue, but for this video series I want to be able to talk about how I already view Revue Starlight, and why that is. Maybe in the future I'll make another video after having learned more about the Takarazuka Revue. But for now, let's talk about episode 1 of the Revue Starlight anime, Stage Girls. So episode 1 of Revue Starlight mostly serves as an introduction to the setting and characters and build up to the larger story at play. And that's really all you need from a first episode. While it may seem like a simple intro at a glance, I think there's a lot to appreciate, along with some cool details and foreshadowing sprinkled throughout the episode. First off, the pacing of the episode. After a brief intro scene, we are quickly introduced to the setting of the story, Saisho Music Academy, a prestigious performing arts school in Tokyo. We get to meet all the characters and see their relationships with one another. One thing I really like about the scene where all the characters are walking in and introducing themselves is, and I can't say if this was intentional or not, but I noticed a great deal of focus on the heights of each character. As we'll come to learn, to become a top star, one must reach the greatest of heights. So, height is an indication of talent, status, and power, if you will. A lot of the characters are framed in ways that make it easy to see who's taller than who, with Maya Tendo being recognizably the tallest of the main cast, which lets viewers know she is the top dog, if you will. It's very easy to miss it, but Nana is also noticeably taller than the rest, but thanks to her personality and how she's utilized in the scene, it's very easy to miss it, which is brilliant since Nana is talented enough to defeat even Maya in a review, but doesn't want the spotlight or glory that comes with having such power, which we'll learn later. I'd like to think this is intentional, but I could also be reading too far into things that just so happen to work out. I think the fact alone that I'm able to draw these conclusions regarding the shot composition and directing of a scene, whether intentional or not, shows the depth and nuance to Revue Starlight though. There's a lot to discuss because there is a lot of hidden layer and details poured into this series. The rest of this episode is pretty standard stuff. We see what Saisho Music Academy is like, we see more of the characters interact with one another, we get exposition dialogue, and this stays the same until about halfway through the episode, when it is announced that Hikari Kagura, Karen's childhood friend, is transferring to their class. More on that in a second. I just want to briefly say how much I like how the first 2/3 of this episode is dedicated to showing the bright, fun, and passionate nature of the school and all the characters working their hardest, before it plunges us into the world of the review battles at the end, which shows a more cutthroat and brutal competition to become the top star. We're introduced to the best of the theater-loving world of Saisho Music Academy, before being shown the brutal, but also beautiful and spectacular to watch, fight for dominance, which isn't just a facet of Saisho Music Academy, but also all creative pursuits when you think about it. I don't want to get too into that aspect right now, since that's more an overarching theme of the series, so I'll touch more on it as these episode videos go by, and we can see the larger thematic story at play. I just think it's a great way, not only to introduce viewers into a seemingly normal musical high school setting, before showing the unexpected and captivating world of the revues, but also a way of laying the groundwork of its themes, regarding both the beauty and harsh reality of pursuing creative and artistic endeavors. Back to Hikari's arrival in the episode. I really enjoyed the scene before her arrival, where we see Karen doze off and imagine herself on Tokyo Tower, only to be pushed off by Hikari. Not only does it start to reinforce the importance of the symbol that is Tokyo Tower to Karen and Hikari, but Hikari pushing Karen down results in a falling animation that is very similar to the transformation sequence we will see Karen undergo towards the end of the episode. Hikari ends up being the push Karen needs to become determined and enter the revues as a stage girl, specifically when Karen sees her struggle against Juna in the Revue of Passion. And in this scene we see that foreshadowed by Hikari quite literally giving Karen a push, which results in her simply falling out of her desk and onto the ground in the real world, but that's okay, because we haven't entered the fantastical world of the revues quite yet. It's announced that Hikari will be joining the class. Karen enthusiastically shows a reserved and cold-feeling Hikari around the campus. We get to see a glimpse of how Mahiru reacts to Karen's relationship with Hikari, which will become more relevant in episode 5. We hear the other characters' reactions to Hikari's arrival and her talent, and while looking for Hikari, Karen follows her back to Saisho after school hours, and ends up finding herself a spectator to the Revue of Passion that is happening between Hikari and Juna. Oh, and there's a talking giraffe in the audience with her who is seemingly the one looking over the revues. So on to the revue itself. The Revue of Passion is one of my favorite moments in this entire series. It's not the most visually grand compared to the other revues, as we'll come to see, and it's not even the most emotional in how it relates to the characters and themes of the story. But it is just a magical introduction to the theatrically grand spectacle that is this side of the world that the revues take place in. And while I did just say the Revue of Passion isn't the most visually grand or emotionally powerful, it's no slouches in those regards either. I like how even the way the revue starts once again reflects the outside beauty of the stage, which all the girls strive to shine on, before quickly turning into a fierce battle to become the top star. The movements between Hikari and Juna start off slow and almost intimate feeling, especially with these shots here, before devolving into a fight between the two stage girls. A great representation of the love and cruelty to be found within Revue Starlight and its revue battles. Visually, the fight is fantastic too. Fluid and colorful animation, amazing choreography, dynamic camera work that makes this beautiful stage, set in an underground theater, feel like a desperate battlefield. It really brings the spectacle of the theater-inspired revue battles to life. It makes you feel the passionate and desperate desire of both Hikari and Juna to become the top star. The animation throughout the episode was consistently good, especially the scene of Karen falling from Tokyo Tower that I mentioned earlier, but this here is dazzling. The sound design is also great, with each movement or attack on stage being given weight. thanks to the dynamic and fitting sound design. I also like how stars are a visually important reoccurrence throughout the revue. Fitting, as the title of Top Star, is what all the stage girls are fighting for in these revues. And something you're going to hear me say a lot, the song itself during the revue is fantastic. The relatively slow-paced instrumentals, feeling gentle but also exciting, with lyrics that reflect both the nature of Revue Starlight's story, as well as the characters of Juna and Hikari and where they are as characters at the time of this song. And it should go without saying to anyone who's listened to Revue Starlight music before, but the singing by Hinato Sato and Suzuku Mimori as Juna Hoshimi and Hikari Kagura respectively is amazing. Really every character in this series has great voice acting and singing throughout the show, so it's nothing I'm going to consistently mention unless there are moments that stand out to me in particular. I just figured since this is the first revue insert song, it was worth mentioning. That's not all to say about Episode 1's song, Sekai o Hai ni Surumade, or Until the World is Turned to Ash according to Revue Starlight Wiki, but we'll get to that in a second. During the revue, the Talking Giraffe briefly explains to Karen the nature of the revue battles, and what it takes to become a dedicated stage girl in pursuit of the top star title, before belittling Karen as someone who is unable and unworthy of participating in these revues as a stage girl. You might have noticed that I haven't talked much about Karen Aijo as a character up to this point, and it's because I was saving that for this moment. I think it's very easy for viewers to see Karen as a bland and unstoppable, upbeat girl who uses her main character plot armor to win her way through all the revues and the story overall. But I think there's a lot more nuance to her than that, and it can be seen as early as this first episode. Throughout the episode, we see Karen claim that she is determined to become the best and give her all in her theatrical pursuits. But we don't really see those words in action. One of the first scenes we see her in actually is Mahiro desperately trying to wake up an oversleeping Karen, and when the rest of the characters arrive to see Karen actually on time, they express surprise. So being late and sleeping in is a regular occurrence for her. I'm not trying to rag on people who oversleep. I'm just as guilty of it as the next guy. But can you really say that someone who consistently sleeps in too late and arrives late to the school which is meant to foster their talent for the career or passion they're pursuing is giving it their all? I don't think so. Karen fans, please don't hurt me, I swear I'm going somewhere with this. I think Karen represents a lot of people when it comes to pursuing their dreams or goals, complacency, or perhaps a lack of drive, maybe caused by forgetting what made you so passionate about what you're pursuing in the first place. That's certainly not the only thing that can cause a lack of desire, but it's certainly the case for Karen Aijo. The long time spent apart from Hikari didn't cause her to outright forget the promise they made, but it did cause her to lose the spark and passion she once had for theater. She knows that she still loves the art of theater. We see that much when she talks with her fellow classmates about Starlight and other stuff during the first 2/3 of the episode, but as for why, who's to say? Sometimes it really is as simple as needing to be reminded of why you do what you do or why you love to do it, which is exactly what happens with Karen during this revue. And it's actually something that just happened to me recently, and is even the reason I'm starting this series of Revue Starlight episode analysis videos. Quick recap of my past year. I said it a lot on my social media accounts, but 2022 was a year where I felt too busy most of the time to read visual novels and make videos about them for this channel. And while it is true that I was very busy between college, work, an internship for some of the year, and trying to get into a habit of working out so I can be in better shape, it really was just a year of excuses. I also just slept in an absurd amount, and wasted so much time I could have spent working on stuff I'm actually passionate about, sleeping. And the best part is that by the time I woke up most of the time, I slept so unusually long that I was still really tired. Being unable to wake yourself up in the morning, and sleeping in is something the giraffe scolds Karen for, harkening back to the beginning of the episode, and it's a line that hit me really hard when I read it. But anyways, this oversleeping and excuse-filled behavior of mine continued into 2023 as well, until I heard the announcement that Revue Starlight, one of my favorite series ever, is getting a visual novel based off it. Visual novels being one of my favorite mediums of storytelling. So not only is one of my favorite pieces of storytelling, Revue Starlight, getting more story content which I thought was not gonna happen, besides the gacha game which I sadly haven't played yet, because I just personally don't like gacha games that much, but it's getting it in the form of a visual novel. The sheer determination and excitement that coursed through me in that moment is what got me to download and read Carpe Diem the same day once I finished my homework, what got me to make and upload the review, and what's getting me to start and make this series of Revue Starlight episode analysis videos, even though I'm still very tired and stressed out as I'm typing this, and probably recording this audio, and probably while editing this video as well. It took that push, seeing that one of my favorite series ever is getting a visual novel, to remind me why I love doing what I do, and giving me the motivation to make it happen. I think visual novels are a beautiful medium of storytelling, with some of the most impactful stories I've ever witnessed. and I love reading them and discussing my thoughts on them with everyone watching. It's enjoyable, and I'm passionate about it, and it's especially fun when I get to interact with people who have the same interest, whether that be through comments or through messaging on social media or on platforms like Discord and whatnot. And the same goes for Revue Starlight. I am extremely passionate about this beautiful masterpiece of a series, and I want to talk about why I think it's a dazzling piece of media, what makes it so impactful, unique, and how much it's spoken to me personally, and quite literally changed my life. I always knew during 2022 I loved visual novels and Revue Starlight, and that I wanted to make videos about them, but I lost the spark and memory of why I love those things and making videos about them in the first place. And that's where Karen is for the majority of episode 1 of Revue Starlight. Clearly in love with theater and wanting to be a great performer, or stage girl if you will, but without any of the actual drive, motivation, reason, and passion for it. And that's why I really relate to Karen in this first episode. You're gonna hear me say that a lot about these characters as this series of videos goes on, but it's because these extremely well-written characters all represent different aspects of the struggles, but also the beauty of pursuing creative and artistic endeavors. Normally it would be weird to find yourself relating to more than one character in any given series, but I don't think that's the case for Revue Starlight. Pursuing your dreams, or things you're passionate about, is a long and complicated road, and one that's bound to bring a myriad of different thoughts, feelings, and experiences along the way. And that's why I can see so much of myself in all these characters and why it all works so well. They each embody different aspects of a complicated but personal subject matter. That being said though, I'm not in love with these characters just because of their relatability. They're also just really well written, and interesting in their own right, which we'll continue to see as these videos go on. Getting back to the review of episode 1 though, after being belittled by the giraffe for not having the determination and overall fortitude to become a stage girl, Karen climbs on the giraffe and jumps off of him towards the stage where the review is taking place. Just like the 22-year-old man who remembered his passion for making videos about anime PNG games thanks to a series about cute theater girls dancing and fighting each other, getting a visual novel announced for it, Karen remembers the promise she made with Hikari so long ago, to become stars together, and her passion for the stage is reignited. The text "I am reborn" can be seen on a red screen, which also shows Karen falling the same way she was off of Tokyo Tower earlier, and the iconic transformation sequence has begun. Rebirth, or reinventing and remaking oneself, is going to be a reoccurring theme in this series, especially with Karen's character. So starting off her first stage girl transformation sequence with this text does feel appropriate. We see her stage girl outfit being made in a sequence that's way more epic than it has any right to be thanks to the frantic visuals, crisp sound design, and rousing music, making the whole thing feel as grand and exciting as possible. Before Karen dons the outfit herself and joins the fray of the Revue of Passion with an unbelievably hype and stunning self-introduction. And what a fitting name for this review that is, the Revue of Passion. Because when Karen interrupts and joins the review battle, the instrumentals immediately speed up to match her newfound and fiery determination. Karen representing in this moment what everyone should be in regards to theater or whatever you're pursuing. Passionate, not cutthroat and determined to undermine or defeat the people who share the same feelings for the stuff you love as the stage girls do in these reviews. Karen sings about how she has a dream and goal she wishes to attain like everyone else, while dodging Juna's attacks and quickly defeats her in this review battle. It doesn't matter how many times I listen to this song or how many times I rewatch this scene. It'll always be pure adrenaline for me. Not just because of how I personally relate to it, but because of how everything up to this point has been leading up to this. The fact that people can call Karen bland when we see her go through an entire character arc in this episode that all culminates in this fantastic moment is beyond me. And the best part is that this is only the start of her journey as a character. There is so much more to talk about and discuss in regards to Karen as these episodes go on, and I am beyond excited to do so. But to wrap this episode up, upon Karen's victory in the Revue of Passion, we hear the giraffe announce that the first day of auditions to become top star is over, and the episode ends with a disappointed Juna, a triumphant and excited Karen, and a distressed Hikari. Roll credits, or rather the opening. I really love the opening to Revue Starlight. It doesn't just focus on the spectacle of the review battle portion of the show, but it does show that to be fair, and it's really good and exciting to watch when they do, but it does a really good job of showing what the characters are like in their regular everyday lives and their relationships with one another. The song itself is really catchy with lyrics that fit the theme and tone of the show, and there's a lot of great visuals throughout the opening that aren't just dazzling spectacle, but also symbolic imagery that relates to the overarching story and themes that we will continue to learn and appreciate in Revue Starlight. It's pretty much everything I could ask for in an opening. I always get so emotional and excited when I listen to it, because I always end up remembering what it was like watching Revue Starlight for the first time, and how much the series has changed my life and outlook on things. But that's enough rambling for now. This first episode analysis and discussion video is over. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I have a feeling this video is going to end up being a little longer than the others will, just because there's a lot of ground to cover with this being the first in the series and all, but who knows? Maybe the next ones will be even longer. I'm not going to complain. There's so much to unpack and discuss within Revue Starlight, and I really want to do this masterpiece of a series that has done so much for me justice, and I hope you all enjoy watching me do so. That all being said, as supremely intelligent as I am sure I come off in this video, I'm sure there's things I missed and didn't mention in this video. Like I just said, Revue Starlight has a lot going on in it, and while I do like to think I'm at least decent at picking up on things and analyzing and discussing them, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that either went over my head, or that I didn't notice, or maybe I did notice and forgot to talk about in this video. So, if you guys have any thoughts, opinions, or things you notice about this episode, or maybe even disagree with certain things I mentioned, please comment down below. If this video and my Twitter ramblings hasn't made it obvious enough, I love this series and love to talk about it, so getting a chance to talk about everyone else's interpretations or opinions on these episodes and the series overall sounds like a good time to me. Although don't expect any crazy long responses from me for now because my right hand still hurts whenever I try to use my computer. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see the future Revue Starlight episode discussion and analysis videos, or any of my other content which usually focuses on visual novel reviews and other anime related content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Lastly, big thanks to OtakuBox for taking over the editing to this video when I couldn't continue because of pain in my right hand. A link to his channel is in the description, and everyone watching should definitely take a look at his channel as well. He's got a lot of cool content, including a couple videos on Revue Starlight, which, I don't know if you got the memo, is a really good show. Thank you again to everyone so much for watching this video, and until the next one, see you guys.